Hey everyone, my name is Mike McAndrew. I'm a solutions engineer over here at ShareFile. I'm joined by my colleague, Cord Wortman.
Hey, my name's Cord. I'm a customer success engineer with our adoption team.
Give you guys a quick thank you for not only joining us and giving us some of your time today, because we know your time is valuable, but we want to thank you for being a ShareFile customer and choosing us as your preferred file storage and sharing solution. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to cover some pretty straightforward concepts, but concepts that are important to understand uh, for how ShareFile works and how to find your files and get files efficiently. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the file box, what that is and what you might use it for. Then we'll go into the inbox and sent messages, how you can access your inbox and sent messages, and then how you can access your users' inbox and sent messages in case you need to find things that they've sent and they've received. After that, we'll talk a little bit about folder invitations. We think that's a great feature that's not really used that much. So we just kind of wanted to get it out there and show you guys how that feature is used. After that, Cord will go into folder templates and talk about how those are used and implemented. And then he'll talk about our reporting as well and how you can go back and look at reports and see how you can view all the activity on your account and more. So without further ado, I'll just hop right into it. Please feel free to ask questions in the Q&A. We got a great group of panelists that are there to help answer questions along the way, whatever Cord and I can't get to. All right, so here we are. We're signed into our ShareFile account. We're at our dashboard. Now, when you receive files, likely you're using the request files feature. By default, this feature is going to point to the file box. And this is kind of why we're talking about the file box first. The file box is essentially a staging area for files. It has a file retention policy of 180 days. So anything that goes into the file box will be stored there for 180 days. Now, if you need files to sit in one place for longer than that or indefinitely, you would want to choose a folder that has, a bigger retention policy on that or a less restrictive retention policy. So you have the option to do both. But for this purpose right here, we'll just get a link to the file box and we'll get those files uploaded. So when your end user, your recipient of this link goes in to upload a file, it may be anonymous access on that file, or you may require a name and email address like this. So I'm just going to put in name and email address. You can put in company if you want, it's not required. And we'll just grab our file. We'll throw a file in there. And there we go. And one thing I meant to mention here, if you go to the options setting, when you're creating your request a file link, most of the time you're going to want to make sure this is enabled. This is going to be enabled by default, but this is going to send you a notification whenever something is uploaded for that specific link. You'll also be able to choose, expiration and what sort of access level you want. For this specific link, I just had name and email address required, but you have the anonymous option as well as a sign-in required there. So we'll go to that and we'll go into our file box because that's where that file that we just uploaded lives now. So here we go. We got this file. We can see that it was just uploaded by me. And so we have the option to download this. We could also do a couple other things, like we could move it to a folder if we don't want it to live in the file box. So a couple of different options there. Now, what do you do if you want to see where that link was sent? Well, that's going to be in your inbox under sent messages. So we can see if we click this right here, we can see that we have this is our sent message. We got some details there, like the file that was just uploaded. Now, if we select this box right here and hit resend, we can see that this is pointing to the file box. Now, say I had something, a different request a file link. pointing to a specific folder on the account, it would look something like this. So we can see that this link is pointing to, Rod Brindamore. So if we go down to this one, I think is the one I want. Okay, so like this link was sent and it has, it's pointing to this folder, ABC comp. Instead of going around and digging around in my folder structure, what I'm going to do is use this new search feature that we have where you can search for all items or just specifically for files or folders. So I'm going to select the folders option and I'm just going to type in ABC. And there's our ABC comp folder. So we'll just click that. And then we can see any files that were uploaded with that link in here. This was a file that I uploaded earlier through that request a file link. So another quick way to find a file. You have a few different options here. You have the upload notifications, you have your sent messages. You can always go back and look at those. And Cord will talk about reporting a little further as we get through this, if you need to go back and look at historical data throughout the account. Now, if you want to look at a specific user's sent messages, it's going to be real simple. All you'll need to do is go down to your People tab, go to Browse Employees, and then we'll just make sure we find an employee that has some things here. So we'll click Dwight. After we click on Dwight's name, we'll go over to the right here under Actions and hit View Folders and Activity Logs. And from this page, under Folder Access, you'll see an option to access users' content. And this is where you're going to be able to access their personal folder, their file box, and those sent messages. And the sent messages are going to look exactly the same as your own sent messages. You're going to kind of have those same options there. So if you want to see where a specific request a file link is pointing to, you would just select that link, hit that resend button, and you can see the folder that it's pointing to. So pretty useful there to be able to just go in and look at those different users sent items, their inbox, and their file box as well. So I think that about covers a file box and inbox and sent messages. We touched on search a little bit. Now let's talk about folder invitations. Now, with a folder invitation, basically you'll be able to invite users to a folder that they might need access to, but you're not sure who might need access to it, but you want to give sort of a general link for users to sign up and get access to that data. So for here, we might go into our settings here for under more options. When you go into a folder and select edit folder invite. So here we will name it. If I could spell correctly. And so just on this example, we might want these users that are signing up for access to this folder to only have view permissions. These are the only 3 permissions you'll be able to give users for a folder invite. Just for security purposes, you probably don't want somebody signing up for a folder and having delete permissions and then just going in and deleting stuff that's in there. So that's why you just have the view, download, and upload permissions, just depending on what sort of use case you have. So moving down, we have the max signups allowed. So if you only want a certain number of users to be signing up for access to this folder, you can set that right here. And you can also set an expiration. So after you do that, you'll get a link. With that link, you can then, put that wherever you need to, wherever access is going to be needed, and you'll just put in your name, email address, and that'll give you access to the folder. I'll go ahead and stop my screen share, and I'll hand it over to you, Cord.
All right, sounds good. Give me 1 second, get this pulled up here. All right, we should be good here. So the first thing I'm gonna get into is folder templates. Folder templates let you set up a default structure of folders that you can apply to any folder on your account. So it can make it really easy to set up a project folder or any sort of standardized system for your users to use. To access folder templates, all you have to do is go to Settings, Admin Settings, Advanced Preferences, and then Folder Templates. As you can see here, I have a couple already created. If you want to create a new one, all you have to do is go there, put the name and description in. Once you've created that folder, it will take you to this screen where you can set up your folder structure. So this top one is going to be wherever you're assigning this folder structure. So anything below that will be the folders it will create once you do that. So all you have to do is come in here. I can click on this folder, click add, and it'll add a subfolder there. So add an uploads folder. Same thing, I can keep doing that. And then once you're ready to save this, all you have to do is hit finish. If you ever need to remove a folder from a template, just be aware that any folders you delete from here will delete that folder from the template, from any folders associated with the template. So be careful in deleting that, or you may end up having to restore a bunch of data. So it's just something to be aware of. But anyway, so I'll go ahead and click finish there. So then you have a couple options. You can apply the folder individually when you create it, or you can go into the options to change it. If you have a folder you want to apply these, a group of folders you want to apply these to already, all you have to do is click here, and it's going to ask where you want to apply that to. So I can come in here, I'll choose my client individuals. So as you can see, I have a bunch of client folders. I'm going to choose, because I'm doing it in bulk, I'm choosing the parent folder of where all these clients will be, folder templates will be assigned. So it's not going to apply it to clients, it'll apply it to each of these subfolders. So I'll just go ahead and hit apply. All right, as we can see, successfully applied. So now if we come into my shared folders, go to my clients. So there's all my client folders. And now if I click on any of these, we can see that they have that folder structure now is applied to their account. I did all that with the click of a button. If you ever want to create a new folder now, just come to where you're creating the folder. Can enter our new folder name. And then down here at the bottom, you'll have use a folder template. So you just select that, choose which folder you want to use, and click create. And then it drops us in the new folder, and we have that full folder structure already fleshed out for us. If you ever need to remove the folder structure, just be aware you can't delete any folders if they're associated with a template. So if for whatever reason you needed to come in here and remove some folders that were associated with that, or if you were making changes to the folder template itself and you didn't want to affect any existing folders, just go to the folder, go to Edit Advanced Folder Settings, and at the bottom you'll have Remove Template Association. You just click that, and then those folders that are in there will just be regular folders. They're not going to be associated to that template anymore. Then if you want to add that folder template back, just come back in here, click individuals, and hit save. It will add any missing folders to that structure, and any folders with the same name and in the same position in that structure, it will then associate to the template. So if you manually created a bunch of folders with the same names, and then you added the template, it would associate those back together. So just be aware of that. It will kind of link all that stuff back up. So it may be, then you would have to delink it again to remove those folders if you again had to. But yeah, folder templates are a great way to set up those. I have another one here. This project's one I used. As you can see, this one has a lot of folders under it, and you can create as in depth as you want on these. That's folder templates. So we'll go ahead and jump over to reporting now. To get to your reporting settings, all you need to go is go to settings, admin settings, company account info, and then reporting. So from reporting, to create a new report, I just click create report, and then you'll see all our folder or our report versions that you can do. The most common one is probably going to be a usage report. This will show account activity, and you can, once you hit next, you'll have all the setting options for the report. So if you wanted to just track logins, you could do that. So yeah, we can come in here, remove a bunch of these. We don't need all of them. And then we can set a specific date. So if I want to do this week, then you can change the name if you want to help you more easily keep track of it. And then you can choose Excel or CSV, and then we do create. That'll take a second to run, and then it should change to the checkbox. Yep, there we go. And then we'll have a couple options here. We can download a report and just open it locally. We can move it to a folder in ShareFile, or we can delete it. What I'm going to do is actually just choose the view option here, and that will open it in ShareFile, so I don't have to wait for a download. All right. And then as we can see, it's going to have, oh, I don't know. Yeah, it should. Okay. We can see our date. We can see what the item is, what the activity was. So we can see there where we created that client folder. You can see my login from earlier. You can see the email, username, IP address. You also get an event ID. So with creating a folder, you'll see the folder ID. If I was uploading a file, you'd see a file ID. If someone was downloading from a share link, you would see the share ID. So it's all great information included in these reports. Some other good ones are storage detail reports if you want to see what's on the account, share reports if you want to see, that will give you share links and whether they've actually been consumed or not. You can also do user reports if you want a list of clients and employees. One other way you can get these reports is if you go to a specific folder. So we'll go to individuals here. And then view activity log. So this will automatically give you the activity log for this account, but you can also then run it as a full report directly from here. If I want to make sure I include everything below that folder, so I can click that. And then from, the last week. And then if we just do export to Excel, it'll automatically download that a whole list, and you can open it and review it just like we looked at a second ago. One other option you have is a recurring report. So if you set up a recurring report, it will run whatever period you set it on, it'll run then. And then it automatically gets uploaded to a ShareFile location. So if you like to keep track of everything that's going on your account, you could do like a usage report. We'll set it for, you do have to, don't do a specific date for recurring reports, otherwise it'll just run the same date again. You need to use one of the relative settings. So we'll do last week, entire account. We're going to set that to recurring, and then it'll ask us how often we want to do it. Since we're doing a week, we'll do it once every week. We can choose which day. So you could do like every Saturday. And then we just choose where we want it to get uploaded to. So I'll just upload it there. And then every time it'll immediately run it, but then every time after that, so every Saturday, I'm going to get a weekly usage report uploaded to that folder. So it's a great way if you really want to keep track of what's going on your account. You can easily do that. And then you don't have to sit there and run a bunch of reports to try to backtrack data. You can get it all just in that storage folder. You can go through and find what you need rather than having to run all those individual reports. But I think that covers all of our reporting there. So I think we're going to open it up for Q&A. Delia, did you have some good ones for us?
Hey, yeah, we've been getting a lot of amazing questions. So let me take a look here. I love it. We have 46 questions asked. Like, that's so cool. Let's see.
Yeah, just to answer that first question there about the different settings here. So this folder access report, when it was ran, there was nothing in it. So whatever folder I ran that access report on, it was just empty. So that's why it's given that triangle. Sometimes they may fail. We have a 90-day period limit on any single report. So you can generally run reports for the life of your account, but anything over 90 days would fail. Sometimes if you have a lot of activity, especially with a usage report or a storage report, those may fail as well, just because they're breaking the size of the Excel document. So in that case, just pare them down. Generally, I recommend 30 days for reports, just to keep them a little more manageable. But you may even have to go down to a day or a week, depending on how much activity you're potentially looking at.
And to piggyback on that, Cord, Deb asks if I want to run activities from 2019, then I need to create 36 reports. So that's definitely a loaded question for sure.
Yes, you would, because we have that limit of 90 days, you would have to create a number of reports. That's one good reason, especially for newer accounts, is if you set up those recurring reports early, it can hopefully prevent that kind of report running having to be done throughout the life of the account.
So going back to templates, oops, I just lost my, here it goes. Okay, so Ted asks, after removing the template and then adding it back, and would it create duplicate folders? So scenario after removing the template and then adding it back. So that's the scenario.
As long as the folder, so if you have a folder that you set up with a template and it has a bunch of template folders in there, if you remove the template, nothing happens to the data that's in the folder, nothing happens to those folders. As soon as you add the template back, it will then look at the names of the folders. And if none of the folder names have changed, then it will just reassociate to those folders. If you had a 2020 folder that you went in and renamed as 2020 old while that template was not on there, and then you added the template back, you would then have a 2020 folder and a 2020 old folder, because those names are different. If you go into the template itself and change the names, anything associated with that template, the folders would not change, because the template told them to change the names of those folders. So I can show you that real quick. So if we go to folder templates there, so yeah, if I come in here, I click 2020, we'll rename this 2020 old and click finish. Now, if we go to any of our folders that are associated to that, that folder name is just changed here. So if you ever need to change folder names in bulk, it's easiest to do it from the template. But if you do remove the template, change the folder names and add it back, it's going to create a new folder at that point.
Looks like we had a question about whether files are encrypted and about HIPAA compliance. Files are encrypted at rest and in transit. And we do offer HIPAA compliance for our premium plan. And that includes a BAA as well. Cord, maybe we could show the folder activity log. Did you touch on that?
Yeah, we did. So yeah,
Okay.
just go at the top to on any folder, just go to view activity log, and that will be the specific folder activity log. And then you can do subfolders as well. Set your time and date. Again, because of our 3-month or 90-day limit, these are only going to be the last 3 months. So if you want to do this specific folder for like 2 years ago, you would have to go to the reporting section to do that. But yeah, you can view all that here and then export it.
From Pat, how can I tell if a folder is associated with a template? I think it's a really good question.
Yeah, the easiest way to do that is to just come back to my folder. go into it, edit advanced folder settings. And then at the very bottom, you'll see folder template, and it'll say it's currently associated with the template. And then if you want to remove it, you just click this button. That's the easiest way to see it.
Yeah, very true. Let's see here. So many amazing questions still coming in, which is fantastic.
I got a question from Mark here. A user with just upload permissions and not delete permissions, can they overwrite a file with the same file name, or will the system reject the upload of the file? So by default, your account has something we call versioning enabled. So what that means is if you have a file with the same file type and same file name uploaded to one folder, it's going to create a new version of that file. So then you have a historical record of all the different versions of that particular file that have been uploaded to that location.
Yeah, and if you want to see if a file has been versioned, if you go find one, it'll have this little blue note icon. You click on that and it'll have all the previous versions that were in there. So you can come in here and either delete them or download them. By default, it's going to be an unlimited versioning across the account. Under the advanced folder settings, you can come in here and change that. So if you have storage concerns, especially if you're using like on-premise storage, you could lower that to like 20, 50, whatever you want. But yeah, by default, you can't actually overwrite data on ShareFile. It's still going to be available.
Mike, this one's for you. Does ShareFile meet all the IRS SEC for safeguarding client data that we CPAs are to be compliant?
It's kind of a broad question there. I would encourage you to go to our Trust Center and look at the various compliance certifications that we have and that we've achieved, as well as the different audit reports that we have available. Those should give you better insight into the security controls that we have in place and the certifications that we meet. There's a lot of different types of certifications and compliances out there. A lot of them have controls that align with each other. For that reason, we have something called the due diligence package. This is a great resource to sort of identify, all the different types of security controls that we have in place. And if you'd like to see how those controls are operating and with what effectiveness, I would encourage you to look at our SOC 2 report, which is also available on the Trust Center.
And then we have a question from Sandra. So she's looking for, what is an example of when you would use a file box versus just using the folders?
So a file box is going to be temporary storage. So it's by default, it'll be whatever the retention period is on your account, which in most cases is going to be 180 days. So anything that's in here will go to the recycle bin after that time period. It's more of a short-term storage solution. So if you just come in here and you just want to get a file out quickly, you just do share files, share something from your computer. It's just going to upload it directly to the file box and create that link. But if you want to have a more structured, you're keeping most of your files in ShareFile for all this, for your uploads and your downloads, then you may want to structure similar to what I was showing with the folder templates, where you have those client folders and you have the information in there. It's really kind of a case-by-case basis. The file box is just really just a catch-all for whenever you don't specifically use a folder. Same with if you just request files directly from here. It's just automatically going to default to the file box. If I do have that full structure set up, and I do want to make sure I know where all those files are going, I may come in here and specify that client's folder before I send it out. But yeah, it kind of is just a preference on how you make use of your ShareFile account. Because I mean, once it gets uploaded to ShareFile to that file box, you can come in there and then just move it to the folder. Some people prefer to do it that way as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Cord. Let's see, we're getting lots of questions still coming in. So Sean asks, can I copy from the file box down to my shared folder structure? What is the highest to lowest in regard of copying files, or excuse me, to copying files?
Yeah, so generally with copying, you have to have download on the originating folder and upload on the destination folder. So if you're trying to copy a file from your file box, which you'll have full rights to a folder, you have to have upload on that folder to move that file over there, or to copy that file over there. For a move, you would have to also have delete on the original location. So again, with FileBox, you can send it out of there without any issue. It'll just depend on the destination folder on whether you have upload at that point.
Thank you, Cord. So Diane asks, how do we give a client access to a file in ShareFile or pick up a file in ShareFile with a secure login so they can transfer documents with personal information?
Yeah, so I would just add them to a folder. So if you just go into a folder, you can create a user directly from the folder rather than just doing it from the people tab. Cord will show that right now. Thanks, Cord. So if you just go to the people tab over here inside your folder and click add people to folder, you'll have that option to create a new user. So as long as you give them download and upload permissions, they'll be able to download and upload files from that folder. And as long as you have client consent enabled on the account, they can share files from that folder.
Wonderful. All right, so Linda asks, if you set up a user profile with password and then ask them to upload to the file box, do they still need to log in to access the file box?
That will be determined based on whatever link settings you have set up. So when you're creating that request link, all you need to do is go into, we'll just do get a link, but go into edit options here, and to require sign in, you just need to choose that client employee user sign in required. If you leave it with name and email or anonymous, they won't have to sign in. Anonymous just automatically gets taken to the upload page. Name and email will have to enter their name and email. And then sign in required, they'll obviously do the full sign in, and then they'll be taken to the upload page. And basically the same options are going to be on the downloads. So even if you share a file from your file box, you can still either do anonymous, name and email, or sign in required.
Thank you, Cord. And then Vincent is really curious about what send for signature is. Doesn't really have a more detailed question, just would love to know a little bit about it. So send for signature.
So send for signature integrates with our Write Signature platform, which if you have ShareFile Premium, you'll already have access to. But we have a couple options to access that from ShareFile. You can either choose the signatures option over here, which takes you right into the Write Signature platform, and you can begin sending documents for e-signature. Or if you're already in a folder, so if I click on the file there, it'll give me the option to send for signature, as this is a PDF file. This one's already signed, but if I go ahead and click send for signature, it'll take me over to Write Signature. It'll automatically upload the document to be signed, and then I can go through the preparation process. And it'll let me place any fields I need to on here and sign the document. Once that's sent and completed, it gets uploaded back to ShareFile, and it'll have this /sign.pdf. That one was already done. That's why it shows up like that. It was originally just onboarding form.pdf. But once it's completed, it gets automatically uploaded back to this location in your ShareFile account. That is a brief overview of our Write Signature features. It allows for electronic signatures.
Lots of amazing questions still coming in. I'm so excited. So right now we've got 99 questions answered. We have 9 questions waiting. We'll try to get through as many as we can. So let me take a look here really quick. So we have Linda here. She asks, what do you do when your client is abroad and cannot use their cell phone for two-factor authentication, or in general, if they have issues with two-factor? What options do we have to reset their login?
pretty much currently, I think only the master admin can reset a two-factor authentication still. So the master admin would have to go in to the people section, find that user, and then there'll be this reset two-step verification button over here. That'll send them an email. Once they do that, it'll clear it out of their settings. It will not have disabled it completely. So once they log in again, it will ask them to set it back up. So if for whatever reason they can't set it back up, unfortunately, there's nothing we can really do at that point. You could delete the user completely from the system. But if you're forcing client two-factor authentication, then they're still going to be required to set it back up, even if it's a new user. So it kind of depends on the account settings.
And I know by default, Cord, we require two-step verification for employees, but could you actually pull up, the settings for it?
Yeah, it's going to be under security, login and security. So yeah, by default, this employee users is checked for all accounts, but not for clients, and this will require two steps. So any new employees that sign in will be prompted to set that up. Clients will not be. All users always have the ability to set it up, whether or not they have these are checked.
So how come your employee users is unchecked?
I completed the opt-out waiver. So you just click this button, it'll bring up the opt-out waiver, follow the directions, read through it, make sure you understand what it means, and then it'll let you uncheck employee users on this requirement.
And then I think there's a save button at the bottom, right? Like,
there are actually two save buttons on this page.
that's right.
There's one in the middle, which will be everything above it. And then there's another one at the very bottom for the single sign-on settings. So anytime you're making changes on this login and security page, just be aware that when you save, if you're doing anything in this top section that's not single sign-on, use this one above the single sign-on section, and anything in single sign-on, use the one at the very bottom.
That's great, yeah, because if you complete that opt-out waiver, you still want to make sure that you're clicking that save button.
Yes.
I've got a good one, Delia.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Lisa asks, we have a lot of older clients. It seems like you're asking a lot of the clients for them to access the folders. Won't they see an awful lot they wouldn't need to? And can you show us what they would see? Whoever wants to take that, but I think that's a common ShareFile question, is your clients aren't going to see what you see and everything that you see. They're only going to see what you give them access to. So we can show how that all works for sure.
Yeah, so if you have a client who has been, like, let's say I have Bruce here, he's only been added to this folder. When he logs into his ShareFile account, he's not going to see everything that you do. He's going to see a thing here that says folders, and then he'll see his tax return folder, and then he'll be able to go in and just see those tax returns. He's not going to have projects and signatures and people over here. He'll have personal settings for changing some of, like, his password. But yeah, it'll be like 3 or 4 options for a client user in most cases. They're not going to see a whole bunch of stuff. They're only going to see the folder that they have access to. They don't have personal folders or file box or a cycle bin. They'll only see these folders. If you're worried that that still might be too much for some people, you can continue using the folders for your own internal organization, but then you can always come in here and just share those files with a link. That way they just have to go to the link, log in if needed or not, and then they'll just have access to their files. They won't have to come into the full ShareFile experience here. They can just do that link. It does require a little more work on your end, but again, I understand that some people that may be the easiest to handle it that way. Same with requesting them to upload files. Just be like, click this, they click it, they upload the files to you, done. Whether it points to your file box or to this folder, they don't even need to know really. And then the same with, again, downloads. Just come in here, find their 2022 tax return and send it to them via a link, rather than having them log into ShareFile, go find which folder it's supposed to be in.
Yeah, and to add to that, even just within a specific folder, if you only give that client user upload permissions,
Mhm.
they're only going to be able to see the items they have uploaded. They're not going to be able to see items that other users have uploaded because they don't have download permissions.
So yeah, even if you're using like a group folder for all your incoming requests, again, they'll only see what they've uploaded.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, you guys. So we still have about 10 minutes or so. So I think what would be really cool if we spend the last few minutes, maybe if both of you could pick something that's maybe your favorite part of ShareFile that maybe not everyone knows about. I think that would be really cool to share what your favorite is.
Oh, I'll go first. My favorite part about ShareFile is the ShareFile for Windows application. Essentially, what that application is going to do is it's going to give you a native Windows experience that integrates directly with your file explorer. So you don't have to go onto the web app to move files around and send files out. You can do that all within that your native Windows experience right from your file explorer. So if you haven't checked that out, it's one of our most widely used tools, if not the most used tool. So I definitely encourage you to take a look at the ShareFile for Windows.
We also have ShareFile for Mac for our Mac users.
Did the name of the application change recently? Because I feel like a lot of customers might see a different name.
Yes, we did update it to ShareFile for Windows from Citrix Files for Windows. So it is now ShareFile for Windows.
Yeah, great call out, Jace. The Outlook plugin is another great tool that's widely used by our customers. So if you're using Outlook and you want an easy way to securely send files, check out the Outlook plugin. We also have an encrypted email feature that you can also use with the Outlook plugin, as well as the web app. That's going to encrypt the body of your email. So if you want that extra layer of security to encrypt not only your file that you're securely transferring, but you also want to encrypt the body of your email, you have that option with the Outlook plugin.
Wonderful. Thank you guys. All right, Cord, what's your favorite?
One of my favorite things is folder templates. So I've already shown
Okay,
it.
well, why? Why is it your favorite?
It just makes setting up those large folder structures real simple. You don't have to spend a lot of time typing out the same thing repetitively across your entire account. You can just go in, set it up once, and then everybody in your account then has access to set up that same structure. So yeah, it's great for that getting rid of some of those repetitive tasks. You just set that structure up once, and then everybody has access to it.
I love that. That's awesome. It kind of reminds me, like, if you take a perspective of like templates and then compare it to like how you can manage your people in like distribution groups, I feel like they're very similar in terms of being able to apply a large grouping to a folder structure. I don't know if you guys talked about it, but I guess distribution groups is one of my favorites. So I'm going to make you talk about
distribution
it.
groups is great too. If you're especially in a larger organization, you can put every department in their own distribution group and then give them all access to the same folder structures all at once. You don't have to sit there and do 15 people to this folder, 15 to this one. You just do one group. The same way you would add a person. So if I just come in here, do people, and then go to distribution groups, I can see, so I can just add all the architects to this folder, set their permissions, add, then everybody that's in that group. So we got, yeah, all those people now have access to this folder. All I had to do, one user. So yeah, if you have a large organization, you can set them up with clients too. So if you have a bunch of client users that you need to give access to a project or something, you can easily add them all in through that distribution group rather than having to one by one add them to folders.
Yeah, and then that also helps with removing them too.
Yep.
Especially if you have a really large folder tree.
Mm-hmm.
So much easier with distribution groups.
Yeah, and if you're onboarding a new user, you don't have to sit there and go through, all right, well, I need to give them access to this folder and this folder. You just add them to that group. And then just like everybody else, they have access.
Really appreciate everyone's time today. We had such an amazing audience. You guys were fantastic. You asked amazing questions. But I'm going to give the final word to Mike and Cord.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks everybody. It was great for all the those are some good questions. So
Great.
thank you
Thanks,
very
everyone.
much.
Have a great day.